If you're thinking about getting into model railroading or you're already an addict, boy, do we have a project for you. We are gonna put a second deck on my layout and we're gonna start right now. Hey, welcome to It's My Railroad, the how-to show for regular people. This is a show about regular people building their model railroads. We are having a ton of fun as a community. We're sharing experiences, we're learning a lot, and generally having a pretty good time. So if you're into that sort of thing, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe, and then don't forget to push that little bell icon so you can catch future videos. All right, just before we really tear into this, a little bit of housekeeping. As most of you already know, we put these shirts and some hats and some coffee mugs up on my wife's Etsy page. There's a link to it down there in the description. Click there, you can go there now and shop till you drop. First of all, thank you to all you folks who've already placed so many orders for this stuff. It just kind of blows our mind. But that also leads me to remind you, the real reason I'm bringing this up is this. We have our 5K giveaway coming up. That means anybody that's buying this swag that we're selling on the Etsy page, make sure you get a picture of yourself with it doing something railroadish in front of a layout, in front of a locomotive, on a train track, your wife wearing an engineer's cap, something. Just get that done and post it up on our Facebook page at It's My Railroad. What I'm gonna do is every one of those posts that you guys put up, I'm gonna put your name in a hat and we're gonna have a raffle once we hit 5,000 subscribers. Now that could be tomorrow, that could be a year from now. I don't know. YouTube is kind of fickle sometimes. But when it happens, I'm going to draw out of the hat a name, and first prize, the first name I draw is going to get a $200 gift certificate to modeltrainstuff.com. The second will get $100, and the third name I pull out will get $50 for coming in third. Get her done. So I don't know, it just kind of makes it fun. It kind of just reminds everybody that we're not in this for the money, baby. It's just kind of cool. You guys want it, we'll sell it, but let's give some of that back and have a good time doing it. So again, the link's in the description. Click on it, go to the Etsy page, hook up, post, maybe you'll win. All right, rail fans, let's get into this. Today we're gonna start putting the second deck in on the Brown-Smith Railroad. And I gotta tell you, right up front, totally stoked about doing this. I have been thinking about this for a couple of months. I've been talking about it for at least a month, and now we're gonna actually do it. Today, I'm gonna tell you why I'm doing it. I'm gonna give you a little tour of the track plan, and then we're actually gonna go in the hobby room and start working on it. It's gonna be, oh, so very exciting. I can't wait to get going. So first things first, let me tell you a little bit about the why. I've covered this in some other videos we've done, but just as a recap it in this episode, I have been watching guys run longer trains and basically rail fanning their own trains on their layouts. I can only do a little bit of that up on the Brown-Smith. I've got 2 loops and the trains can go back and forth. It's kind of cool, but I can't run 20 cars or 25 cars. Oh, I just want to run some long trains, unit trains, stack trains, something, and just have it snaking around through the scenery. So to do that, we're putting on a second deck. Let me give you a quick tour of the track plan as I propose it. You can see it here behind me. I did this in AnyRail, and I moved some track around and cut some stuff and came up with some ideas. But you'll see that it's incomplete. This is because I have learned that if I detail it out to the nth degree, it often doesn't work on the layout some kind of way. I don't know. I just don't have the capacity, apparently. So what I like to do is kind of get a general idea of what I'm trying to do, and then roll up the sleeves and get into it on the layout, put it together kind of on the fly. But what I want to do right now is give you sort of an idea, an overview of what I'm talking about on the layout. So if I just move over here for a second, you can see right here, I'm going to be putting in like an engine service facility. It doesn't actually say it there, but I want to put something there to store my engines, to fuel my engines, to work on my engines, and have them all hang out down here. I've never had something to that degree before. Really looking forward to having that now. And then we move up to here. I'm hoping I can put some kind of like a industrial area there, manufacturing, that'll receive raw materials from the port and ship finished goods back to the port. That's going to be kind of fun, I think. And then if we move over and we look right over here, in this area, I'm hoping I can get some kind of a town built. I've seen towns and other layouts and stuff that aren't necessarily rail served, but will be a lot of fun anyway. A lot of people, a lot of structures, cars, sidewalks, phone poles, fire hydrants, you name it. That's what I'm hoping to do there. And then we move further down and over to here. This is like a storage yard to store some of the extra cars. And right kind of back through here, I'm hoping I can put a future spur that'll lead off down to a staging yard in the future. And then way over here behind me, I want to put a ladder yard in. I've never had one before. I've only had like a few sidings and stuff. I want to have something significant here to really look bold and dramatic for a yard. So that's the deal. Now, the great controversial 5% grade that I propose is actually supposed to start right here. And here's why. Once we leave the yard, the train will make this loop around here. It'll come up over the top and go back over around here and then over to the helix that'll be down here and around and go up. So basically, from this side of the layout to that side of the layout, we need a pretty steep incline, which I want anyway for the drama, right? You guys have been hearing me talk about that. Check out some of the other videos. So that's what we're gonna do. And to kind of make all this work though, because I don't have so much depth, right back up in here, it's my intention to take these ones going up the hill and put them on an actual mezzanine level. So it's almost a tri-level layout by the time I'm done. A mezzanine right up here that I think will look pretty cool. We'll see how it goes when we get there. So the net effect is this. Upstairs on the Brown-Smith Railroad, I can already run one of my switcher trains round and round and round. It's a lot of fun doing that. What I'm hoping I can get done is running from this yard up and around and through the mezzanine up to Switch Junction. I can have one train running. Then coming out of this yard, going all the way up into the helix over here, but then coming immediately back down before it hits the helix, and then coming back down and around through the yard into another loop over here. I can put my stack train, not a 5% grade, like a 2%, 2.5% if I think I can get away with it. Now, the one thing I haven't talked about yet is right up kind of in this area here, I have a loop that ultimately connects to the train, the track the stack train will be on. And it also is going to run a third train, just kind of in a loop, we'll kind of hide it back here a little bit so that you can't actually see that's an actual loop. During operations, that little train will be switching out the industrial area, something like that. That's kind of where the plan is going. So ultimately, come the end of the day, I'm going to have some longer runs, rail fan my own trains, have 3 trains running concurrently, all at the same time, which means we're going to have to boost our DCC because I ain't got enough amps to do that right now. I'm also going to try to do some signaling and more modern stuff down on the second deck. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. It's going to take us a while to do that. And I've got more to say about it, but we're not going to say it in here. We're going to go into the hobby room right now. Hey, welcome back to the hobby room, to the Brown-Smith Railroad, and to our second deck expansion project. Over the next several weeks, we are going to be adding a second deck to the Brown-Smith Railroad and connect it up here so that we can run trains between it. This will include bench work, the regular guy way, putting a top on it, some styrofoam, laying the track, doing the wiring, putting my yard in, which I've been dying to have a ladder yard, putting that in, and then of course the old controversial 5% grade testing we're gonna do before we get too carried away. And it turns out if you guys are right, my bad. And if I'm right, anyway, I'm really excited to get on this deal. So, but just before we do, a couple of sort of ground rules about this hobby room. Now, this house is probably as old as I am, about 63, no, not 63. I was born in 63. I gave away my age. Wow, this isn't going well. Let's move on. It was built about 55 years ago. And so over time, I guess, this corner and this corner, they're not in square. They're not at right angles. There's some arbitrary skewed angle, which makes it very tough when you're trying to make these precise right angles on your bench work and get everything to line up right. Secondly, this wall bows towards me a little bit. That wall bows away from me a bit. So you got bowing, you got skewing, makes it a challenge. However, have faith, because I overcame those things with what you see up here, and I'll show you how I did it. It's kind of a regular guy thing, no rocket science involved in it. But there's some other things that I want to keep in mind and factor into this build, and I'll show you those very quickly, and then we're just gonna get right to mounting the bench work. All right, this hobby room is relatively small. I do my video editing in here, I do my railroading in here, and heck, I get dressed in this room. So one of the things I had to incorporate or want to incorporate is this hobby table right here. It sits here under the layout, but once I put a second deck in, it starts cutting away real estate to put this at. So what we need to do then is make sure the bench work is high enough to accommodate this hobby table and me sitting underneath it. Now, here's the problem that poses is I'm gonna duplicate the brackets that I have under here. I mean, why not? They're already in the studs. We'll just come down further, shoot them in. Problem is, I got a bracket right here, and that's right over the hobby table. So how am I gonna make all of that work on a second deck? I've got a way around that involving some suspension kind of stuff, some reinforcement that I'll show you when we get there. So that's one thing we need to take care of. Another thing that I'm not too thrilled about that I did earlier, for whatever reason, is I put these sort of sharp edges in here along there, and you know, it just doesn't work. It looks so much better on the pictures I've seen other guys' layouts where it's just, it actually curves right along there, follows the track. It's really a clean look, and I feel the need to modify this up here at some point, but for sure, down below on this deck, we're going to put the curve in, and then when it gets to curving all the way around, every place it's going to have a nice curvy edge. I think it'll really mellow the look and really make it look better. At least I'll be more happy with it. But that's like the other thing that we're going to factor into our design. And then lastly, to sort of give you an idea of how the Brownsmith Railroad is mounted right now, I've got these shelf brackets right here that are lagged right into the stud, and I bought these from Lowe's. They're nothing real special. And I've only got one lag in them because this is shear strength right here. I don't need to worry about this pulling out, and why put a second hole in the wall, especially when Mama has already said no more holes in the wall, but she's giving me a special dispensation for these wall brackets, so we're gonna get that done. Also, as we move on, when we get to the wiring, I think we'll take care of some of the slinky land I left because I was in too big of a hurry to get everything running up here on the railroad. Not only that, we need to clean it up here so we can get some lighting in up here. As part of that, I believe I'm gonna yank that track lighting out that's up there. It was nice when I put it in, but it's concentrated light, it's not a flooding kind of light, and those suckers are really hot because they're fluorescents. Anyway, there's that. All right, then the one final thing that's sort of part of this, but not a specific thing, is I'm gonna move my DCC control stuff to a better location that's a little bit more permanent. This is sort of screwed to this piece of wood. I never got around to doing it the right way, whatever the right way is, by the way. Underneath there, I've got my DCC control stuff. We're gonna have to add some more of that for a couple things I wanna do on the layout. So I'm gonna find a nice place, maybe down here under switch junction, to put all that equipment and sort of an isolated with a door on it or something so that it doesn't get messed up. I'm also going to put maybe a 3-switch bank in right there with a 4th little miniature toggle switch so I can turn on the light in the hobby room, turn on the lights over the layout, and also turn on the layout itself. And then I want to have a little switch there to make a programming track. I've never had a programming track. I always have to take all the locomotives off, and you know, I'm looking at putting maybe 15 locomotives on the layout or more, who knows, when the time comes. And so taking them all off to program a locomotive is just ridiculous. So a piece of the track is gonna be designated as a program track. I'll be able to isolate the rest of the layout from it, put a locomotive on there, boom, program a locomotive without frying all my other locomotives. So there we go. Now listen, I told you, I am very excited about getting started on this. I cannot begin to tell you how much I've been looking forward to doing this since I thought about doing this. So that being said, I'm going to grab a shelf bracket, a tape measure, some other tools, and we're going to start putting the brackets into the wall that we're going to set the bench work on. Let's get over there right now. Well, rail fans, I am in my very favorite place in the world, which is underneath my layout. I am 6'3" and 55 years old. I do not like climbing under here. And we're gonna make it lower right now, which is a whole ton of fun as well, isn't it? Hey, listen, so I think we'll take some measurements and set this first bracket. It'll be just like the brackets we have up here, and that's what's gonna hold the layout up. So I know from measuring that hobby table over there that it is 29 inches tall. That is right there. So in my opinion, I will take this bracket I got and I will set it just like that, mount it to the wall. And that will be what the bench work and whatnot sits on. Now, here's the thing. From there, we need to go up 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches to the top of the bench work, 1/2 inch for the plywood, 1 inch for the styrofoam I hope to put on there. And there's also going to be these little spacers I'll show you on top of the angle brackets that we're actually going to support the entire bench work. So that takes it up to like there, right? 35, giving us, well, like 13 inches, maybe 14 inches. I don't know why I said maybe. Maybe because I'm not that sure of my math, but about 14 inches between the fascia and here. One of the ways I may try to compensate for that to give a better viewing angle is bevel these pieces of wood I have up here so they come back like that and cheat the fascia back so you have more of this kind of thing happening. I don't know. The only other option is to raise this layout up. No, I've done that once already. That bolt used to be in that hole, and so you can see I raised that up a good 8 or 9 inches, so I didn't have a God's eye view, I had more of a perspective view on it. So anyway, there you go. So why don't we just take our first bracket and I'll show you how I mount those. First of all, I'll take my level and use it, see, by making this level right here, right on the center of that hole, it kind of tells me that right there is at least where that stud was reported to be. We'll see if it's actually there. Then we can take the bracket, set it where it goes, right on that line, and color all that in right here. That's where we're going to put the hole. Like a lot of these other things I do, I get the drill out and do a pilot hole first of a decent size, but not so big that the lag bolts I'm getting ready to put in there pop out. So I have a random drill bit here. I think it's 3/16 drill bit. I don't know. As a regular guy, I just guess sometimes. What we're going to do is go and just drill a hole right here. All that wood that came out of there is a good sign, in my humble opinion. All right, so these are 2-inch lag bolts, and I have a washer, and we're going to just get the ratchet out and put it right through that bracket mounted to the wall. Got the ratchet with the bolt on it, got the bracket. Okay, before I get it all the way tight, put a level on it. And then tighten it down. The reason for the level is so this edge right here remains flat, because if it starts beveling or shifting from one side to the other, it'll change the elevation. Most of you guys probably already know that. I just had to throw it in. Yeah, that's getting nice and firm, nice and tight. If it doesn't get tight when you're doing that, or feels like it's going to strip out, it's probably because we missed the stud, and then we got to come up with a plan B, whatever plan B is. Now let's see if we can move over and put this one in. All right, luckily for us, this isn't my first rodeo doing this, and so a couple of things have already been established. One of them is we know where this stud is, right? Or at least we believe we do, in my house with mystery walls. So what I'll do is start with putting this, transferring that down to about here. I think that's where that hole is going to end up. But then, since we already have the elevation over there, if I just set my big level up here and run it down until it's level, I mean, level's level, right? And there you go. So I know that right there, or at least I believe right there, is where I want the top of this bracket to be. Line the bracket up. And mark the hole. And then we'll drill it out and lag another one in. I think we had success again. And there, our second shelf bracket is installed. We've only got about 7 more of these to do. I'm gonna go ahead and do them right now, and you guys can watch for a little bit, and then we'll cut some bench work and put it up here. Well, all the shelf brackets are in. I only banged my head a couple of times, and quite frankly, I don't see any blood, so I guess we're doing okay. Next time, we'll go ahead and cut all these pieces and stick them in there, but for now, let's just go back into the hobby room. So there you go. We have the shelf brackets mounted. We are well underway. Next week, like I said, we're gonna put the bench work up there, see how far we get with that. It's really exciting stuff. It's moving forward, finally. So, hey, listen, this is the kind of stuff we do here on It's My Railroad, Sidetracked, and our new talk show, Track Smack. So if you are into that sort of thing, again, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe, and then make sure you like and share this video with somebody. Don't forget to connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, my name is Steve Brown. Rail on, my friends.